Pâro. You're scrolling and something catches your eye. An article, a headline, a thread, and it's telling you something you're doing is wrong. Not dramatically wrong, just quietly, persistently wrong. The way you eat, the way you sleep, the way you handle stress, the way you handle people, and you close it and move on. But then there's another one, and another, and slowly, without really noticing it happen, you start carrying this low-level feeling that you're somehow falling short of something, that everyone else got a manual, you didn't. That feeling is called Pâro. It's the sense that no matter what you do, it's not quite right. Not a loud anxiety, more like a background hum that never fully turns off. You make a choice and somewhere in the back of your mind a voice quietly wonders if it was the wrong one. You eat something and half remember reading that you probably shouldn't. You say something and replay it later wondering how it landed. What makes it different from ordinary self-doubt is that it doesn't come from inside you. It comes from the noise. Dès Vu. You're in the middle of an ordinary moment. A dinner table, a drive home, a conversation that isn't about anything particularly important, and then something shifts, just for a second, and you're suddenly aware that you're going to remember this. Not because anything special is happening, but because you can feel the future weight of it already settling in. That feeling is called Dès Vu. It's the strange sensation of experiencing a moment while simultaneously watching yourself remember it. Like you've briefly stepped outside of time and can see the present the way you'd see an old photograph, slightly faded around the edges. Already nostalgic, already gone. What makes it different from just being present is the distance it creates. You're still in the room, but part of you is already elsewhere, looking back, noticing the details, the light, the faces, the specific way things were arranged before everything changed. It usually arrives uninvited, and it leaves just as quietly. But for a moment you are two people at once, the one living it and the one who already misses it. Kudoclasm. You had a version of yourself in your head. You've had it for a long time. This quiet, private sense that you were building towards something, that the life you were actually going to live was still ahead, and it was going to be significant. That feeling has a name. But Kudoclasm isn't the dream itself. It's the moment it starts to crack. It doesn't happen all at once. It's more like a slow leak. You get older, and the future that always felt distant starts feeling close. And you do the math. And the math is uncomfortable. The things you were going to get around to are still waiting. And somewhere in the back of your mind, a quiet voice asks a question you've been avoiding. What if this is it? What if the life you're living right now isn't the prologue, but the actual thing? What makes it different from ordinary disappointment is how personal it is. It's not about a specific failure. It's about the gap between the self you've been carrying in your imagination and the self that's standing in your kitchen on a Tuesday morning, wondering where the time went. Some people respond by dropping the dream entirely and calling it maturity. There's relief in that. But something gets lost, too. Because the dream wasn't just vanity, it was the thing that kept you reaching. Kudoclasm is the moment you have to decide what to do with the gap. Onism. You're lying in bed scrolling and you stumble across a video. Some guy living in a tiny cabin in Norway, snow outside, fire inside, complete silence. And something about it just stops you. You watch the whole thing, and when it ends, you put your phone down and stare at the ceiling for a second. That feeling is called Onism. It's not that you want to move to Norway. It's something harder to explain. It's the weight of realizing how many lives exist that you will never get to live. One body, one timeline, one version of you moving in one direction while everything else keeps existing without you. Robert Frost wrote about it without naming it. Two roads diverged in a wood, and the one you didn't take just disappears into the trees. You never find out where it went. You feel it when a friend moves to another city and you think, what would my life look like if I'd done that? When you're good at something you never seriously pursued. When you look out a plane window at all the tiny lights below and realize every single one of those is someone's entire world. Onism isn't about being unhappy with what you have. It's just that quiet ache that comes with being a person. The realization that choosing one thing means letting go of everything else, and you only get one pass through this. And it moves fast. Alazia. You're in the middle of an argument and you hear yourself say something. A reaction, a phrase, a tone of voice. And for a second you think, that sounded exactly like my dad, or my mom, or that person I swore I'd never become. And it passes, but it stays with you a little. That feeling is called Alazia. It's the slow, unsettling realization that you might have already become who you're going to be, that the version of you that was still being figured out, still open, still possible, has quietly started to set. Like clay that's been sitting out too long. You used to be able to surprise yourself, try something new and actually take to it, change your mind completely about something you were certain of. But lately, change feels harder. Your opinions feel older, your habits feel permanent, and somewhere in the back of your mind is this question you keep avoiding. What if this is just who I am now? The scary part isn't that you turned out bad. Most people didn't. It's just that at some point you stopped feeling like a rough draft and started feeling like a final copy. And nobody told you when that happened. There's a poem by Jimenez that captures it. I am not I am the one walking beside me, that other self. The one you were still becoming. You could feel him for years, walking just ahead of you, waiting. It's getting harder to see him now. Klexos. You're lying in bed and suddenly a memory from 5 years ago just plays in your head. Not a big one. Maybe an argument you had with someone you cared about, or a moment you walked away from something and never looked back. And the strange thing is, it doesn't feel the same as it did back then. It feels different now, smaller in some ways, bigger in others. That feeling is called Klexos, the art of dwelling in the past, not nostalgia, not regret. Something more quiet than either. You know that friend you lost touch with and told yourself it was fine, it was mutual, it just happened? And then years later you realize you actually miss them, and you're not even sure why it ended. That's Klexos working in the background, slowly rewriting what things meant. But now when you think about it, something sits differently. Not that you made the wrong choice, just that the story you told yourself about it wasn't the whole story. Because your brain never really closes a file. Every time you revisit a memory, you're not replaying it, you're rebuilding it, reshaping it with everything you now know that you didn't then. Klexos is the quiet realization that the past isn't finished with you yet. And maybe you're not finished with it either. Sonder. You're stuck at a red light and you glance over at the car next to you. Just some random person, tapping their fingers on the wheel, staring ahead, completely in their own world. And for a second, just a second, it hits you. That person has an entire life. A childhood, a heartbreak, an argument they're still replaying, a favorite song, people they'd do anything for. A whole story, just as long and complicated as yours. And the light turns green and you drive away and you never find out a single thing about any of it. That feeling is called Sonder. It sounds obvious when you say it out loud. Of course, everyone has their own life, but there's a difference between knowing it and actually feeling it, really feeling it. And it usually only lasts a second before your brain quietly gives up, because the scale of it is just too much to hold on to. It hits hardest in crowded places, airports, train stations, busy streets, all those faces, all those worlds, all moving past each other without touching. Every single person you have ever walked past has a life as vivid and complicated as yours, full of things you'll never know, and you are just as anonymous to them as they are to you. Just another face in the background of someone else's story. Gnossienne. You're sitting with someone you've known for years, a parent, an old friend, someone you grew up with, and they say something, or you catch a look on their face just for a second, and you realize you have no idea what's actually going on inside them. Not really. That feeling is called Gnossienne. It's similar to Sonder, but more personal. Sonder is about strangers. Gnossienne is about the people sitting at your dinner table. You think you know someone because you know their habits, their humor, their history. But there's a part of every person that nobody ever gets to see. Not their partner, not their best friend, not even their therapist. A whole inner world they've never shown anyone and probably never will. You see it sometimes in old photos of your parents before you were born. The look on their face that reminds you they existed long before you did, that they had a whole life, fears, dreams, secrets that had nothing to do with you. The people closest to you are still, in some ways, complete strangers. And the strange part is, so are you to them.